Okay, so let's dive right into this whole AI and writing thing.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of you listening are curious, maybe even a little intimidated, right? Like AI and writing, it's kind of scary.
There's definitely a lot of buzz out there, a lot of speculation.
Right. Like are robots going to be taking over our laptops any day now?
Well, to help us cut through the hype, we're taking a deep dive into a recent interview with novelist Stephen Marche.
Okay.
He's been experimenting with AI writing tools for years,
Wow.
even before they were, the talk of the town.
And what I love about Marche is he doesn't shy away from those tough questions.
Right.
He actually started out pretty skeptical of AI, especially when it came to literature.
Yeah, it's true.
Well,
In the early 2010s, he was pretty critical of the whole field of digital humanities, which, was using early AI to analyze texts.
so how'd he go from AI skeptic to AI experimenter? That's like a plot twist.
What's fascinating is that his skepticism actually led him to a deeper understanding of AI's potential.
Oh.
He started to see how those analytical capabilities could be harnessed for creative purposes.
Okay, so I get that AI can analyze massive amounts of text.
Yeah.
But what does that look like in practice? It's not like it's reading a novel and leaving a review on Goodreads, right?
It's more about recognizing patterns,
Okay.
like the way certain authors use language,
Right.
the structure of particular genres,
Mm-hmm.
even the subtle nuances of tone and style.
So kind of like how those music streaming services can recommend songs you might like based on what you've already listened to.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of musical notes, we're talking about words, sentences, entire writing styles.
Wow.
And this is where some of those early AI tools showed surprising skill in mimicking specific types of writing.
Interesting.
Marche talks about having AI draft a formal letter,
Okay.
like a letter of recommendation.
Did it work?
It apparently did a pretty convincing job.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Which makes sense if you think about it. Formal letters tend to follow a formula. There's a certain structure,
Right.
a certain type of language that's expected.
Mm-hmm.
AI, with its pattern recognition abilities, excels at that kind of thing.
So it can write a killer cover letter.
Yeah.
Maybe even draft a decent email.
Mm-hmm.
But what about something more imaginative, more human?
Right.
That's where this whole idea of Maury's paradox comes in, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Maury's paradox highlights this counterintuitive aspect of AI and creativity.
Okay.
You'd think that AI, with all its processing power, would be able to churn out best-selling novels.
Yeah.
No problem.
Like just instantly.
Right.
Yeah.
But it turns out it's not that simple.
Okay, now you've got my attention.
Okay.
Tell me more about this paradox.
In a nutshell, AI is really good at complex stylistic imitation.
Okay.
Imagine trying to write a Sherlock Holmes pastiche,
Okay.
something that captures Conan Doyle's signature wit and deduction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
AI could probably nail that.
Okay.
No problem.
But it couldn't come up with an original mystery plot.
That's the paradox.
Wow.
AI excels at mimicking style, but struggles with those fundamental building blocks of storytelling.
Mm.
Plot, character, theme,
Right.
the things that grab us emotionally and make us want to keep reading.
Wow, that's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's like AI can bake a cake that looks exactly like the Mona Lisa,
Right.
but ask it to come up with a new dessert, it draws a blank.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And it gets at something really important about how Marche approaches AI-assisted writing.
Okay.
He doesn't see it as a shortcut, a way to bypass the hard work of writing.
It's not just a matter of typing "write me a novel" and waiting for the magic to happen.
Exactly.
Right.
In fact, his process is surprisingly hands-on.
Okay.
He uses very specific techniques to guide the AI and shape the output, which might surprise some listeners who imagine this to be a totally hands-off affair.
So it's not about replacing our brains with algorithms. It's more about like a collaboration. What does that collaboration actually look like in practice?
That's a great way to put it. And this is where it gets really interesting, I think, for writers.
Okay.
Marche talks about using hugely blocked prompts, which sounds very technical.
Yeah.
But it's actually a concept I think anyone can wrap their heads around.
Hugely blocked prompts. So is that like writer's block, but bigger?
Not exactly.
Yeah.
It's actually the opposite of being blocked.
Okay.
It's about giving the AI incredibly detailed instructions.
Okay.
Think of it like this. You wouldn't just tell a chef, make me dinner, right?
Right.
You give him a recipe, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hugely blocked prompts are like giving the AI a recipe for your writing.
Okay. So instead of write a scene about heartbreak, it's more like write a scene about a heartbroken baker in Paris, raining outside, smelling of croissants, but he just dumped his sourdough starter.
You got it.
Okay.
The more specific you are with your prompts, the more control you have over the output.
Okay.
And this is where Marche's process goes even deeper.
Okay.
He doesn't just take what the AI generates and run with it. He uses these tools called stochastic writing tools to really kind of sculpt the text.
Stochastic writing tool. That also sounds a little intimidating, not gonna lie.
It's simpler than it sounds, I promise.
Okay.
Imagine you have like a digital writing partner
Okay.
who can help you play around with your words.
Mm-hmm.
One tool Marche mentions is called pseudo-write.
Okay.
And you can feed it a paragraph you've written and ask it to rewrite it in a different style.
Wait, so I can say, make this sound like Jane Austen,
Yes.
and it'll give my writing like a Regency-era makeover.
That's the idea.
Why?
It's like having this whole team of writing coaches, each with their own specialty, ready to help you experiment and refine your work.
That's wild.
But even with all these tools at his disposal, Marche's biggest takeaway isn't about the technology itself.
Really? So if it's not about the tech, then what is it about? What's the secret sauce?
For Marche, it all comes down to what he calls the art of the archive.
The art of the archive, that has a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean?
It means that the material you feed the AI is just as important,
Okay.
if not more so, than the prompts you give it.
Interesting.
Think of it like this. A chef is only as good as the ingredients they use, right?
Yeah.
It's the same with AI and writing.
Okay.
The richer your archive, the books you've read, the experiences you've had, the knowledge you've accumulated, the more interesting and original your AI-assisted writing will be.
So it's not just about being tech savvy. It's about being well-read, curious, engaged with the world around you.
Precisely.
Wow.
AI becomes like a reflection of your own creative ecosystem. It's like you're curating this whole library of influences
Yeah.
and then inviting the AI to help you remix and reimagine those influences in new and unexpected ways.
That's actually a really inspiring way to think about it.
Yeah.
I have to admit, though, part of me still feels a little anxious about all this. Like, what happens to the human element of writing when AI is involved?
It's a valid concern and one that Marche takes very seriously.
So how do we navigate this new terrain without, losing our minds or our jobs?
Yeah.
So how do we navigate this new terrain without, losing our minds or our jobs? A lot of writers are wrestling with these questions right now.
Absolutely. And Marche doesn't shy away from that.
Yeah.
He acknowledges those fears, the fear that AI will, devalue human creativity, that it'll make writers obsolete.
Because on some level, it does feel like a category violation.
Right.
Like we've always thought of writing as this uniquely human thing.
He gets that, but he reminds us that new technologies have always been disruptive.
Okay.
Think about photography.
Okay.
When it first emerged, some painters probably felt threatened, like their art form was under attack.
Right, like who needs a painted portrait when you can just snap a photo?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But of course, painting didn't disappear.
Right.
It evolved.
Yeah.
And in some ways, photography pushed painters to explore new creative territories.
Interesting.
New forms of expression. Marche sees AI in a similar light, not as a replacement for human writers,
Okay.
but as another tool in their arsenal.
So not man versus machine, but man with machine.
Precisely. And just like any tool,
Okay.
the more we understand its capabilities and its limitations, the better we can wield it.
Right.
It's about using AI to enhance our own abilities, to push the boundaries of what we thought was possible in our writing.
Which brings us back to that idea of the art of the archive.
Right.
It's not just about what the AI can do.
Yeah.
It's about what we bring to the table as writers,
Exactly.
as thinkers, as curators of our own creative universes.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really empowering message for writers.
Yeah.
We're not passive bystanders in this technological revolution.
Right.
We have agency, we have a voice, and we have the ability to shape how this technology is used.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you hope listeners take away from Marche's perspective on AI and the future of writing?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. Approach AI with a sense of curiosity, not fear.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to experiment, to push the boundaries of what you think you know.
Because who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe AI isn't here to replace us. Maybe
No.
it's here to help us unlock new levels of creativity we never even knew we had.
Wouldn't that be something?
It certainly would. And that's a wrap on this deep dive into AI and creative writing.
Yes.
We hope you've enjoyed exploring this fascinating and ever-evolving landscape with us.
Well,
Until next time, keep writing, keep exploring, and keep those creative sparks flying.